Hey guys, this is Mrs. Scherenberg. I'm on 11.6. This is our last lesson in this packet. We're going to solve quadratic equations by factoring. And it says write the equations given the roots. Okay, well, roots is a weird term. Over here on the left, I just want to point out to you that solutions are roots. Let me get my pin going here. Solutions are roots, okay? So x minus 7 equals 0. If we were going to solve this, we would move 7, adding 7 to both sides. And so the solution to this would be x equals 7. X equals 7 is the root, or the solution. If we had x minus 7 and x minus 7, two factors, the solution to this, you wouldn't write 7 twice. The solution to this is just 7, and these little squiggly lines are called the solution set. Now, look at this next one. We have x minus 7, and 0. So you'll understand this more in a minute, but we're going to set each one to 0. So we have x equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0, and x minus 7 equals 0. So in our solution set, x can be 0, x can also be 7, and I'm only going to list it once. So what I'm saying here is if you put 0 into this side of the equation, you're going to get 0. You're going to get a true statement. If you put 7 in for the x's, you're going to get 0 equals 0. These 0 and 7 are the solutions or the roots to this equation. Okay. So over here, if we solve the following quadratic equation, x minus 5, and also there's a 2x minus 7 equals 0, I'm going to set them both up equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0, or 2x minus 7 equals 0. So if I solve this one first, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So I have x equals 5, or let me solve this one. I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and then I'm going to divide by 2. So what I have here is x is equal to 7 over 2. And sure enough, the two solutions, or roots, to the original equation are x equals 5 and x equals 7 over 2. Or we can say the solution set is 7 over 2 comma 5. You might say, why did they put the 7 over 2 first? Well, if you think about it, that they're doing it in numerical order. So 7 over 2 is less than 5. So they, if you really want to be a math nerd, you want to list them in numerical order. All right, let's try this here down below. 3x squared equals 6x. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is move 6x over so we have a 0 on one side. And in fact, if you read this, it says solve the following equations by writing the equation in standard form with one side 0 and then factoring the polynomial, then set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So we're going to move the 6x so we get 0 on one side. So now we have 3x squared minus 6x equals 0. Now let's factor out, looking at this, we can factor out a common monomial factor of 3x. Now I am left with x minus 2. Now I'm going to set both of these factors. I have a 3x I'm going to set equal to 0 and an x minus 2 equal to 0. So I have 3x equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. Solving this, I divide by both sides, so x can be 0, or adding 2 to both sides, x can be 2. So my solution set is 0, 2. Okay. For this one right here, we would factor this one differently, right? We would split up our x. This one, if you notice, you might be getting good at this, and you might be seeing that this is going to be, these two factors are going to be exactly the same with a minus sign. Because 4 and 4 can get us to that minus 8 there in the middle. X squared minus 4x is minus 8x, negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. So we have two factors here. They're both the same. So I really only need to solve for one. So x is equal to 4, okay? And then finally, this one right down here, I think I will, let's see here. Try to move my screen down here a little bit. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Right here, first off, I need to get the 24 moved over. Okay, so I have 4x squared minus 4x, and I am moving over the 24. That will be a minus 24. And then don't forget, equals 0. I'm going to factor out a 4. So I have x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to factor x squared minus x minus 6. And I'm trying to think of factors of 6 that I could get to negative 1. So I'm thinking to myself, minus 3 plus 2. Minus 3 plus 2. So what I have here is 3 factors. So I have 4 equals 0. I have x minus 3 equals 0. And I have x plus 2 equals 0. Well, 4 could never equal 0. So that is not going to be a factor. This one, if I solve by adding 3 to both sides, I have x equals 3. And this one, by subtracting 2 from both sides, I have x equals negative 2. So my solution set is negative 2 and 3. Finally, on this one right here, can we factor out a common monomial factor? Yes, we can factor out a 2x. After that, I have x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Then, don't forget 2x. Factoring this quickly, I'm going to split up my x's, and I have a negative 3 here, and I'm trying to get to negative 2. So that would be minus 3 plus 1. So I get the negative 3 plus 1x minus 3x. Okay, I have 3 factors. I have 2x equals 0, I have x minus 3 equals 0, and I have x plus 1 equals 0. So for this first one, dividing by 2, x is going to equal 0. This one, adding 3 to both sides, x is going to equal 3. And the third one, subtracting 1 from both sides, x is equal to negative 1. So the solution set is, let me get these in numerical order, negative 1, 3, or 0. And my bad, 0 should have come before 3. But what I'm saying here is if you put in negative 1 or 3 or 0 for all of the x's, so if you tried it once and put in 0 every single time you saw an x, you would have 0 equals 0. If you put in 3 every single time you saw an x, you would have 0 equals 0. If you put in negative 1 every single time you saw an x, you would get 0 equals 0. Negative 1, 3, and 0 make this true. Those are the 3 solutions or roots to this problem. I hope you get this one. A lot of students kind of stumble because we're starting to solve for 0 or solve the quadratic equation there, and it's just confusing. But give it a shot. Use the tutor function in Hawks. I hope it helps, and email me if you have any questions.